On today's show, I want to welcome my very good friend, Joe Taft. Joe is like a brother to me. He's not only a brilliant storyteller, writer, artist, and filmmaker, but he also serves as a stage manager for one of Hollywood's powerhouse production and stage studios. Joe, welcome to Curious Crossroads. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited to get the opportunity to come on this and chat with you. I miss you, buddy.
Yeah, I miss you too, man. Why don't you tell all the people what you do?
Currently, based in LA, work in TV and film production, Hollywood. Right now I work for a studio called Quixote Studios, and we're also affiliated with Sunset Studios. They have a pretty long history, lineage in TV and film in Hollywood. I'm a stage manager, so I work with various productions. We kind of see everything as far as TV, film, promos, photo shoots. We just see it all and just kind of help basically like facilitate the stages, all the rentals, everything like that. But it's just kind of on the other side of what I was doing when I first came out here, and I was freelancing on set. So now I'm just kind of like on the other side of the business and just more kind of like in an operations kind of standpoint of production life.
So what are the typical shoots? Like what kind of shoots or examples of shoots are you doing?
Well, we've got two pretty big, well-known network shows that are filming their TV series. And then like in the past, we had Atlas, and that was the Netflix action movie with J-Lo. Get to be around Maxine by A24. So that was pretty cool. That just came out last summer as well. Then we usually get like the Apple, like iPhone, reveals, or like all those shoots, like those usually are done through us. What did LeBron and Lil Wayne do? That one. Then we also had like DraftKings with Kevin Hart. Just like good mix. It always, every day at work can be something different.
You ever get to interact with any of the talent?
Yeah. You get, that's one particular, I think one of our favorites. I've always been a fan since getting to be around. There was a time when we had game shows and we were like kind of associated with like Fox affiliate. So they had it was like Pictionary with like Jerry O'Connell, but Jerry O'Connell was one of them that super fun. Like that dude is so approachable. He'll talk to anybody, like chat it up and goof around with everyone. So I became a big Jerry fan through that job. And then obviously things I'm trying to do on my own or spec stuff, I always think of them like, I want to work with Jerry. Like there's just some people like that. Exactly. When you see how professional they are and like the energy on set, you just can't help it. It's like, there's some people like that you root for. When I was in freelance, John Hamm is somebody who I've become like a big fan of just because of my set experience with him. And I got to kind of be like his handler and be right there on set with him for, that was an Apple, like Apple device, Apple product, everything. It was the one of him like in some kind of like home. I think that was done for the Super Bowl, maybe a couple years ago. But John Hamm's another one that got to like interact with him, and we talked about sports. I was talking Twins, he was talking Cardinals. He's a big St. Louis everything fan, so he was giving props to Minnesota stuff though too. He said he likes Minnesota. So it's like every now and then it's like, you do get to interact with talent, and it's always kind of cool when, you get to meet some people that they're just really genuine, blue collar, and they treat this very serious, and, but they can also make it fun, like they appreciate and realize like just how lucky and fortunate we are when we find ourselves in this industry and what we get a chance to do.
And then just like rewind a little bit. When did you go out to LA? For the people too, you're from Minnesota, Minneapolis, Blaine area. When did you go out? Why did you go out? Why does it mean so much to you? Kind of go into that a little bit too.
Sure. So I moved out here literally like brand new 2020. It was January of 2020. And that was the thing. It just randomly it kind of worked out. One of my roommates right now, we go back to when I was in Washington. And at one point we were roommates when I was at Central Washington University, where I went to school out there. So I had come out like fall of 2019. We were just, we've always stayed in touch. So like I just planned a trip. We were just catching up. I was out here. And then like a month later, it was like October or something of 2019. he hit me up and he's like, hey, like we have a roommate that's going to be leaving. So this room open up. I know you're already looking to come out here. And it just came together where it was like, oh my God, this is the perfect opportunity. So even for that time, it was maybe a little bit sooner than I thought I'd be coming out here. But in the end, it's like, you can't make it up. It worked out so nicely. And especially where, yeah, like ever since I was a kid, it's like I've had the dream where I've been trying to pursue to work for DC Comics and Warner Brothers. And you know, when I live in Burbank, like I always want to be in this area. And then, yeah, it's like just exactly how things have kind of played out. So came out here in January and then didn't have any work lined up. So I was, you know, previously, for anybody out there, Minnesota people, I worked for Minji, Minnesota Gastroenterology. So shout out to Minji, the best people doing colonoscopies or any.
You were living with me at that time too, down in
Yeah,
Minneapolis
that
off Johnson Street in Northeast.
dude, that was the best house right across
It
the.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had the spot, man. KV exactly right there.
Marinos.
Oh man, dude, it was, yeah, that's the area. It's such a gem. So yeah, I was there doing that exactly, and then finally how this worked out, came out here and just instantly too contacts that I've had for years, that people that I've always supported and kind of pushed me of like, you know, Joe, if you're really serious, you want to do this, you got to give Hollywood and LA a chance, because you know, like there was a time where I just want to be that homegrown type that I always kind of looked at it where I was like, dude, if I could be like a real life Wayne's World, in my eyes, I was like, that's all I want to be. Like, if I can do that, to me, like that's a success. Like, there's sometimes some things about Hollywood that I never really felt that, you know, like I needed to do this route, or kind of saw the industry going in a direction that maybe you don't need Hollywood or even New York. Cause you know, my whole life, that's kind of what I was always told. It's like, you either pick one of the two and you go that route. But when I finally got a chance to do this, then yeah, it's like, it's that snowball effect. So I got out here and got my feet wet a little bit on getting some set experience, just, you know, PA gigs. And again, that was just like through some contacts and people that fortunately, you know, some people like just blow smoke up your butt, and, you know, it's just like they'll talk, but like there is no follow through or anything like that. And I was just pretty fortunate that I had some people that ended up like being very, you know, like they're the real ones, and they really put me on to some opportunities. And then from there, it's like, it's that sink or swim. So then it's just that snowball effect that once I got going, then I was on my own and just making contacts and, you know, trying to prove myself every day so that people knew it's like I'm a legit, reliable player. And then as I just built my contacts, that was kind of it. But like I said, I did some odd jobs. I was doing like weird marketing, which ended up as misleading, but it was like door-to-door sales. So completely, I came out here, didn't exactly have like a soundproof plan of how to get, you know, like really
Which is kind of a lot of people's, you know, strategy when they go out, is just kind of go and figure it out, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I would say obviously, like in hindsight, it's like, well, yeah, if you can have something lined up, obviously that's ideal. But another thing too is, you know, I mean, even all the years when I would try to apply to certain jobs or roles where I'm like, well, I think I could do this, or I might qualify for that. But of course, like being a Minnesota resident or anything outside of LA or California, like that's something they're going to dock against you, because it's just like, well, you know, like we want locals only type thing. So the minute I knew I would get to be out here, it's like I knew that was going to open up opportunities also, where it's like, well, now I'm here, like plug me in type thing. And then it's like I was like doing just odd jobs, little gigs of just something, while obviously I was trying to like do job interviews and land something substantial. And then that's where I got it was going to be set watch security for Warner Brothers, which I was stoked, because that's always been my thing. I was like, dude, just get me on that lot. Like that's all I
Yeah,
need.
foot in the door, right?
Exactly. It's like you put me on that studio lot where I know I want to be and I know I can thrive. Like I'll take care of the rest once I'm there. But that felt so good. And so I had that opportunity where I was hired, and then they gave us their like, you know, you get 2 weeks and, you know, you come back for orientation. It's probably around the time like my birthday, 2020. And then that's that. And I was sitting there, I was thinking that I was like, oh, I don't really have anything going on. So I was like, Joe, 2 weeks vacation. I was going to beaches like every day. I was just like living it up, that I was like, enjoy this. And then we're ready to get to work. It's grind time.
And then
The pandemic hit.
COVID happens. So you
So
go out at like the craziest time ever for Hollywood,
truly,
specifically, like shutting down studios, shutting down all that stuff.
yeah, this industry specifically, man, like it was wild. Like it was, and I'll never forget, it was just St. Patrick's Day. My roommates like all come home at the time. They're all working my roommates were working at Warner Brothers. So they come home and I'm sitting there like, what's going on? It's like morning, we're starting to see stuff in the news as it was slowly breaking around the world and whatnot. But that's the thing where they're like, we just got like, evacuated, and they're like, no, we don't know when we're going to be able to go back. And I hadn't gotten anything yet, emails, but I knew. I was like, oh no, like, and I was just days away where I was like, I'm supposed to be starting like this job in like 5 days or something. So I was like, it's not happening. And then it was like the next day I got an email, and then they give us the spiel of like, yeah, it's like nobody, everything's been shut down. So then you're just playing that game, but then it plays out how it played out. And it's just wild. So, and I lost that opportunity because that was the thing. They never brought anybody back. I never was able to find another way to get at least even back to that opportunity. So it was like to be right there of like, I can't make it out. I was like, dude, I was right there. I had Warner Brothers. I'm in Burbank, like everything's, but yeah. And then we go hardcore COVID, and it's just a weird time, dude. So yeah,
Would you say things have totally recovered at this point from COVID?
it definitely is not. We have not bounced back, and that's kind of the thing. So I think from how 2020 played out for me, it wasn't really until I think like maybe late August, mid August or late August, I think was when I was back and I started doing stuff more stuff on set. And that's the thing at that point, it's like I lost my job because of the pandemic for what I was hired. But then it's like I had to pivot where I was just thankful that even at least I did the odd jobs here and there to get me going. But then I really relied on for the contacts that, and that was the thing with the pandemic, everybody out here was just like, there was two camps because there were a lot of people I used to know from Washington that I went to school with. There was a lot more people that were out here at one point. When the pandemic hit though, people just left. They weren't going to look at like what expenses and stuff were. They were thinking about that. And it's like what we're about to endure. I might as well go and, wherever the heck people were from, they left. And then exactly, you got me where I'm like, dude, I fought my whole life just to get here. Like, I'm not ready to leave. And so thankfully my contacts and the people that kind of, we hunkered down, then it's like I really was fortunate to at least rely on them, that they gave me the opportunities. And then so probably by August 2020, productions were trying to go back, and a big part of that even was like Tom Cruise like pushing with like his Top Gun around that time it would have been. And then we just kind of went from there where it's like we had COVID compliance teams and like a whole division of like there's just all this stuff and the practices we'd have to do. So it definitely, that itself is even like a weird kind of thing thinking about like era to be part of, because like I said, like I can sit there and talk with like veterans and people that have done this for 20, 30 plus something years, and no matter their stories or what they want to tell me about what old Hollywood was or what it used to be, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like it's great to like hear the information, because absolutely I want to be a sponge and I want to hear these things. But at the same time, like for me, I'm like, I don't even have a Hollywood to really reference. And I'm getting thrown into this, and it's at a time that exactly like the way we were doing jobs, it's like no one has ever worked like this. And then even still where we're at, it's like it's one thing to go from the pandemic, then it's been the Hollywood strikes, and it's been these things that we have faced. So it's been one thing after another for Hollywood, but I can tell you, we just have not bounced back. And now it's like what we're dealing with now is just it's expenses, that now we're really in a fight that my fear is not even just Hollywood, but it's as like the US as a whole. And we're really competing with like the world or, international waters at this point, where there's just a lot of, even how in, the US, there's other hotspots for filmmaking and media, sure. But that competition now is becoming at a global level, that it's not like it used to be where it's like, it's not even just Canada, but like now, Central Europe is really developing, and then even places like London. So there's a lot more that's out there now more than ever. And with tax incentives and on the business side of stuff, that's what we're up against. So it's even that where it's really becoming a fight where we're really pushing, trying to obviously, keep Hollywood, but we need to adapt and we need to make changes. And now it's becoming from a financial standpoint.
Is LA what you expected now that you're out there? Like, what is the lifestyle like? Is it different than what you'd think? And then also too, do you plan on staying out there, or now with like AI and being able to kind of like compete with bigger studios with the new technology and the things like that? Is that something where you don't necessarily have to stay there anymore? You can go wherever you want?
I do think as far as the lifestyle, I think that's something for me is like, you know, like you guys know this, like I came out here, I'm always someone who's like, dude, I came out here for the work. Like I care about the body of work. I care about what I'm doing. I have so many goals, so many things in my mind and that I want to create and I want to express. And that's everything for me. And like, that's what it's about. Now the lifestyle aspect is like, that's where, like, say again, back to, I'm like, did I ever really consider myself or think that it's like, oh, I'm like a Hollywood type? Not at all. Like I never really believed in that. And sometimes that's where I think I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what Hollywood will think of me. Now the ironic part is that I do love California. Like I have come where, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, it's like I grew up an Army brat. So I moved around my whole life, and everywhere I've gotten to go, I think especially out here, like that kind of puts stuff in perspective that I'm kind of thankful, you know, now, like not something that you ever really think about when you're younger, but, and now with right perspective, I am very thankful for the lifestyle that I feel fortunate that I got to have, and my upbringing, and honestly, like my parents. So I think it just showed me it's like anyone can do anything at any point. You can hit that restart button. You can reinvent yourself. You can go to the next city, the next thing. Like, don't ever be afraid. Like you should never feel stuck or complacent even, you know, and I think with Minneapolis, I got to a point where I always remember the moment, and it's like we were living together. And I just remember, you know, like you knew every now and then where it's like, I just want to, you know, do something, create whatever. So it's like, maybe I took my camera out, didn't really have an agenda or a plan, but it didn't matter. For me, it was just like, just the act of doing is so crucial. So I remember like it's winter, I'm somewhere off the Stone Arch Bridge or something in the city. And like, I'm trying to just take photos. I remember getting down on the ground, like laying on my stomach, just nasty and stuff. But I was like really trying to get a photo. Nothing was turning out. I was getting frustrated at myself. And mind you, it was like freezing. Like it was freezing out. And I just remember getting so flustered that I was like, what am I doing? I was like, look at me. Like, this is ridiculous, Joe. I'm like, it's 0 degrees. You're out here at night in the middle of like no time or whatever. But it's like, here you are trying to do this. Nothing's turning out. And that's where I think I finally was sitting there where it's like, for a place that was so special and I always thought like inspired me, that's where I looked where I'm like, I don't know if that inspiration is the same. And sometimes like for what you're giving, you need to get something back. So I think I got to a point with Minneapolis where I'm like, no matter what I've tried to push and no matter people or how I try to reach out and have people believe or buy into this vision that I had for like Minneapolis and like Chicago, I got to a point where it's like, all right, I need a change. I need an environment change. And that's when I started more so being open-minded about maybe California. But I'll say everything of like where I'm at currently, I really do owe to the pandemic, and even more so, I will say this is part of my story, but it's Kobe Bryant's death. I was shocked how Kobe's death hit me because it you know, it's the time factor where it's like that dude way too young, you know, and then that hit me in a way where I was like, Joe, you're here. Now you have this pandemic that you're up against. But I just remember I'm like, when I felt some people I knew like you know, COVID and the whole pandemic situation, the shutdown. I think some people, it's like we look back and it's like some people were treating that like spring break, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like people were partying it up and things was like great. It was like a good reset. But when it just kept continuing and it just kept prolonging, it's like that kind of delay in life, that's what freaked me out. So I'm like, yeah, it's cool for 2 weeks. But then that time runs out. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like that, this shouldn't be spring break. But I will say like through my journey with work and then even just in my personal life, I just feel like so many things have like aligned that it really is like California that I'm like, I like this version of who I've, you know, who I continue to become, you know, because that's the thing too. I always think like we're always becoming, you should always be becoming and be mindful of that. You're never going to like just arrive at your destination, but it's the journey itself and it's the mileage. Like you should take pride in that. So I think when I look at all the things that went wrong, it then became from a different perspective that I looked and it's like all that, it didn't go wrong for me. It went right. I think LA is the first place where I really do feel like this has become like a home. I think one of the compliments I do take pride is people here, you know, some people will just say like, Joe, we would think that you're someone that grew up in the Valley, but that, like you said, what you propose, that's the point that we're at. Do I need Hollywood or does Hollywood need me? And I think I'm getting more to the point that I don't need this location. So as much as I'm fighting to hope for a better business methods and practices to happen here, I need to see that. Because otherwise it's like running back to what I felt maybe in like 2018 or 2019 with Minneapolis. And it's like, that's what could maybe start happening here. That exactly. It's like, I'm so inspired, but at the same time, and there's other variables involved too. I mean, we're getting older, and I've like I said, with school and things, like I've been away for like a long time, and I've been away from family like a good chunk of my life, that you just see for all the work and stuff you're doing. At some point, I want to get that. I want time back, But I do think that for some creatives, anyone out there, like if you were me, like as a young creative, or you had dreams, if you want to be in this industry, or you think like I said, where I grew up in a time and era where it was always, you pick one. You either go to New York, or you go to LA. And they're very, very different creative type communities, but you kind of go those avenues. I think we are now definitely in a place where it's kind of what I wish that I maybe would have had when I was younger, which is like, maybe don't bank on these places. They definitely still are the hubs. And if anything, when they're healthy and the industry is thriving, I absolutely do agree that I think you can accelerate the level, but it's also what you put into it. But I think with the right effort and everything, if you're trying to make all the right moves, you can definitely come to these places and you can accelerate that. Where I think in some smaller markets or somewhere different, it's not as connected. It's going to be a little bit different, a little bit harder. All the stuff about AI, sure, it's definitely like threatening. I just hope that there is some kind of regulation. And I hope that I see it as just another tool. It's another tool. It's another device. This is another new thing that we can implement. If it helps us with storytelling, why wouldn't we take advantage and use this? Now, I don't agree with maybe studio leadership and certain executives and the people making decisions and investors. I don't agree where they just think that we can just replace, people because we have this tool or we have this thing and this thing can do for us. That's not going to be the answer. You will lose quality. Like there's just something about the human condition, the human spark, that it takes us. It does take us to make this stuff work. I don't care about AI just being this thing of like, it's learning, and it thinks it can like emulate and replicate. You can't. Like, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to like, having a soul. My thing is like, I've always said this, like around you, I'm like, don't have that dinosaur mentality. Like my thing is just like, see it as like, how can I benefit? How will this help me as an artist or a storyteller? If you can benefit, you can advance and you can become better, then do it. Get with it.
I think you're right. I think it is the best time to be a creative because of AI and those things. It gives us an equal playing field with the big guys for the first time ever. I think now more than ever, it's about adapting. Like we're not going to be in these like 30-year, 40-year periods where things don't really change much. It's going to be about who knows how to adapt is who's going to survive.
Oh yeah.
So I totally agree with that. And then you say you're not sure what's next for you, but like what's next for you, or what do you want to be next for you as far as your career writing and being an artist? We're going to put up your artwork. Where do you want to go from here?
Everything I started from in the pandemic, it's all kind of converging to this year. I'm finally at a point this year where it's like the scripts are locked in. The art I've been developing on a pace, and even how I release stuff, like I'm months ahead. I do put out a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like I still keep the heavy hitters. I think I keep the important things of when it comes to like a pitch. So we were saying like, what do I want to do next? The goal is definitely where it's like, I want to have a pitch meeting with like, I want to be able to pitch like James Gunn, Jim Lee.
For everybody that doesn't know, James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy. That's probably like one of the main things he did, but just so people are familiar.
And that's the thing last year. Last year, I got to experience San Diego Comic-Con. Met heroes, man. I met Jeff Loeb, who is a big name. He used to run like Marvel TV. It's like I met him. I met Jim Lee last year, like Batman Day. And there's always a saying that we have out here, and you just say, you're one job away. And it really is like that. So even in the midst of like all these things, like I said, that it still feels like, well, there's still a lot of things going wrong. Doesn't matter, man. Every day you can go out there, face it as like an opportunity. You can make it happen. But definitely this year, the main focus is absolutely, it's like, I want to take some pitch meetings. Like I'm ready to go, man. Like this is all on me. Like it's everything from visual storyboards to concept art to the scripts. And it's, oh my gosh, probably probably like 6 So we're talking like in 5 years, like 6 full proof of concept projects that I've developed, ready to like pitch and sell, an option. But
And when you have that concept, who do you pitch it to? Like, where do you go?
I think just the power of like social media, really continuing, just to like self promote. Because again, like another weird thing is, I'm at a point where, dude, I go on my socials and I got people looking at my stuff. And
So are you able to throw that out to James Gunn on Twitter? Like a script or a concept or an idea? Is that something you would do, or how would you approach it?
yeah, I mean, with when it comes with that stuff, I do. I'll tag him. I'll tag any like pretty much certain people that I think somehow are in the wheelhouse related to that project. And exactly, it's like, look, let's tag him or whatever. Like, put him in this. That's where, like I said, I got lucky with during whatever 2021, like 2022 were pretty fun, pretty cool because that's where I was just. And back then it was like, okay, I really was just kind of doing like fan art. Wow. Because at that time I was working on like the stories for what I was developing. I wasn't really ready. Like I was maybe in the early phases where I was then creating the art for some of this stuff, but it wasn't as like in your face and then like my socials and all that stuff like it is now. Because now I'm just like, well, now I'm years deep into it. And like I said, I work ahead. So now I'm ready. Like I'm dropping this stuff. But back then, as I would do these little fan art pieces, that's what like I think it started like with Cena. I think Cena might have been the first one, and then it was like the next week.
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena, and then it was and then it was like done.
And with the James Gunn thing too, when he was reposting a lot of your artwork and the different stuff like that, did you ever get to a point where you could like direct message him or anything like that and shoot out a specific thing?
Yeah, more earlier during that time. So that's what's happened with James since he took over DC is he's definitely gotten so much bigger. So that's where like it's pretty rare where if he sees anything of mine or will engage with any of my posts, it's not what it used to be. But there was a time exactly where I had tried where it's like, all right, like I guess like take a shot and shoot him a DM and and just like think, but never got to a point of anything of actually like conversing like with him or really getting any kind of like feedback. So, but it is like that weird thing where there was a time where I got to meet like David Dastmalchian, who is an actor. He played Polka Dot Man, and went same thing. Like he was someone that would share my stuff because I like polka dot man art. So the time I got to meet him, when I told him what my goals were, but the minute that I started telling him about the piece, he knew my name. Now my work, it gets seen by certain actors, certain producers, certain directors. Like that's the other like the maybe like the danger of like creatives right now is I do think that this is also where as exciting and an innovative time as it is, I think the also downside is, I think people have like stolen content. For example, there's a really well-known, I'm not going to name or anything, but there's this kid that he's pretty well known for as far as being one of those like movie, I guess no, he's not even really a movie reviewer. He's just, like somehow the superhero fandom genre or whatever out there has created, like just, I guess like the influencer types maybe, I guess just for them. But there's this one that for a while, like kind of started, I was tracking stuff and I was like, again, I've got receipts and this, whatever I would do, he took it and then he out to his fans.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So this was and so I blocked him. And that was the thing where I'm like, see, that's what's frustrating is like, because I get it. There's a new breed where these young kids, these influencer types that, they get that hit where like this kid just made a video where he's just like, yelling in a theater, hyped up about a trailer and whatever. But that's what to the extent of what their content is. This kid, was not offering like, well, what are you contributing? What are you trying to like bring? Like, what are you bringing to the table? Then to find out that I think what some people are, especially I think more in probably in the influencer world, is like they're mining content.
They want that instant gratification too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
without putting in work.
So it's just easy because they've created, to their props, like, yeah, kudos. You create a platform. In the beginning, it might have been organic and genuine, but once you created that following, it's just like, what a shame that you, instead of, but maybe that's also the age thing. Like I said, it took me a while to like have the confidence or like my identity, or voice. made for these people. Maybe that's what they're going through, that instead of like, they can't figure it out. So what do? They're going out and just seeing like, well, what's in the community? Like, what are people saying about this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then that's where I feel like they're taking, they're being not genuine, and they're just taking that stuff because they have the following. It's weird how you navigate this, but like I said, I still believe in like energies. I believe in that stuff. And it's like, look, I'm still just trying to align myself with, like-minded people like myself. And I'm fortunate where like out here, I've gotten to work with some of the best people, man. Like it really is like something.
Give a shout out to a couple people.
Actually, it's kind of fitting. We'll give a shout out to my buddy Sean Ty. Sean was someone that like going 10 years ago, we met on like through socials. He worked on The Revenant, and so Sean somehow found my stuff, was following my journey and things back then at some point like 10 years ago, and messaged me. And he was always one of those people that really supported and pushed me, where he's like, Joe, come out here and be serious about this. And like, if you ever do, like come out here and do LA. And Sean's the one that my day one out here, I got put on a Nike commercial shoot that I was doing. And that was all through him. So Sean Ty is a big one because, like I said, he's one of those people where some people just kind of blow smoke up your butt. But Sean was the real deal. He's one of the most genuine, hardworking dudes I've met out here. Also, an AD assistant, first assistant director, Brian Stevens is a big one. So he was someone that I got some opportunities to work under him, and I just learned so much, where like I would just try to be that sponge. Like in the beginning, that was just really exciting time out here, was just getting to be, like I said, like almost just you're right there and you're witnessing conversations, but it is like a thing of like, you're not saying a word at all, and I'm just like downloading all this info of learning the verbiage, what they're talking about. And I would witness Brian just work miracles, that he would just be able to play. Dude, it's like watching, like you're like sports, and it's like play calling, where it's like you like take that unit, you're gonna go there, you like you're gonna do something, like go drone, you stay with here, you're on a walkie, you're relaying every little thing to me. Like it's crazy just to see, like in the moment, spontaneous, just lightning fast like calls. And then you're just witnessing where you're like, it's just the greatest feeling. It's just like once you hear like that's a wrap, for like making the day. Those are the inspirations where I'm like, man, I just want to keep being around people like that, man. That like there's so many amazing people out here to like learn from. Even even from the point where like I was green, that's everybody, man. Everyone's got to start somewhere, but I think it's just at the end of the day, it becomes, you can take this as far as you want to go. So yeah,
you just got to kind of embrace it and know you're gonna make mistakes in the beginning, and just kind of be like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is what I'm here for.
Exactly. Like honestly, man, just fail. That's, like I said, like I have a different mindset, where, like I said, I feel like when I was younger, you looked at that and it's like, man, dude, I feel like, how by 23, how do I feel like the ultimate failure? Like what? And you compare yourself to, of course, like other creatives and stuff, but it's like, but I didn't have their path, and that's the beauty of it, is like everyone really needs to realize like it's you. There is one of you. Don't get me wrong. Like it's different from when I was a kid, and it's like, oh, I want to be like Chris Nolan, or, oh, I want to be like Martin Scorsese or Spielberg. No, like now it's been to the point that I'm like, I'm just trying to be the best Joe Taft. And I just truly want that at some point to have some kind of identity on its own as well. But then even at the same time, like it's tricky, like navigating out here, because it's like, I want to do big commercial things, but how can I still retain, like, I just want to be private. Like, don't get me wrong. I know some filmmakers, their goal is to win awards. That's what they live for. Okay. Like that's your thing, then do it, go for it. But for me, I'm like, I just want the work, like I'm someone that's like, I have so many things that I want to accomplish and I want to bring to life. This is why, like, as a kid, seeing behind the scenes stuff of like Star Wars, or seeing like the behind the scenes of like the making of Thriller, the music video of Michael Jackson, that was instantly what just got me going as a kid, where I'm like, what do you mean this is like, people do this like this, because I was that kid that believed like Jurassic Park was real. Like I was so confused to go to school. I was just talking to somebody about that, but I was so confused to learn, like, what do you mean dinosaurs extinct, or, like books and stuff we've learned. I'm like,
that was your junior year in high school, right?
Yeah.
We were like, Joe, they're fake, Joe.
Trying to explain this to your dance or somebody. Yeah, exactly. But man, like to me, it's just like movies are always magical, and I loved it. But the minute that and that's that's on my parents. Like it's just like getting. I always said like my parents are MTV parents, man. They were always in the know pop culture. We always There was always movies, TV, and like music. Like they were always in on stuff, and I'm thankful to have grown up in that like MTV kind of era where
Do
I
you
had.
do you feel like movies were like an escape for you at like
Um,
some degree? Like what
Absolutely.
was the passion behind it? Like why I mean, why did you fall so in love with movies?
I think it was absolutely that. Yeah, at its truest form, and that's the beauty with like all visual arts and like media. There's so many different avenues for like genres. Like we have that. At its core, though, I do think like films and storytelling does work at its best. I think when it is like escapism. Like
Hmm.
I
When
mean,
you get lost, when you're living vicariously through that character,
yeah, yeah.
that's what you're going
Yeah,
for. You're
in a
trying to.
different world or fantasy or something that sure we can definitely like we can watch the stuff and it can be like, hey, this is based on true story, like this is history. This is a world that you're seeing, and guess what? When you exit the theater and you walk out that door, you're going back to that world. Like, sure, we have that. That's what's beautiful. We have everything for anybody, but at its core, and I think what cinema was built on was absolutely it was the art form of escapism. I think even definitely during like the Great Depression, no better time, man, where it's like that. Trust me, those people they needed something.
I think you're hitting on something too. This is a little off topic, but I just feel like how America has been so strong and so powerful for so long. I feel like film and cinema have so much to do with that, and people don't think about it very much. But just like the inspiring aspect of movies to motivate people to do things,
Yeah,
I just feel like like on our culture, it's just such a big deal.
and that's the thing. Like, there's beautiful eras where it's like Jean-Luc Godard was someone, dude. That's what like. So you guys knew this when I went to Wisconsin Superior. I had a professor that like day one of the program. This guy, we're in there. It's day one lecture, and he's just like, if anyone came into my class and you want to be the next Michael Bay, you're in the wrong class. He's like, this is not going to be that. And I just remember, like at that time, maybe we didn't even have Transformers 2 yet. I think we just had Transformers 1 or something, or maybe we did. Yeah, maybe we did two Transformers with Shia LaBeouf. And I remember, like, we all used to go to those movies, and it was like, dude, those were fun. It was a fun time.
You're wearing your Transformer shirt to class.
Right? So I'm
They're
like,
like, get the hell out.
I'm sitting there just be like, oh man, but like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm like, I mean, like, he's coming off two Transformers, like where he was then. I was like, yeah, what's so wrong with being Michael Bay? But I just thought of like, what if there's a kid in this class, and that's their thing. They're just like, I'm just trying to be Michael Bay, man. And then you hear that from someone who was like this Hollywood or like worked in the industry and been spit out, blah blah blah. Now that here they are like a professor, and that's what they're trying to tell kids of like, don't be this, don't do that. In my mind, like that is not the creative spirit. Dude, there are no rules to what we're doing, that's why it's always funny that at every level I've always hit something where even in college, like I would clash with some professors because they would tell me, Joe, you can't write in the structure. Joe, you can't use music. You can't actually name or like say this stuff. All come to find out, like I tend to personally when I write stuff, I write things in a 5-act structure. I eventually learned that Chris Nolan does that.
Ooh.
Like, what? So it's like, okay. Yeah, in college, that was a big issue. You have to write in acts of threes. And I'm like, it doesn't work. I need this moment to happen here, and this leads to this. And so you sit there and, yeah, that's what you deal with. Then with the music stuff, I'm like, no, trust me. Like, I need that song. Like, that's me. And, music for me is a big deal. Like, there was a point where I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be in a band. And I had somebody in middle school tell me, he was like, Joe, do you realize how hard that's going to be? Like, you have to be really good to make it. And she was right. I was like, you know what? You're right. I quit. The next day I was like, bro, I ain't going to try to do anything with music. Cause I was so focused. Cause I just knew I was like, yeah, the only thing I can like maybe try to take a whack at, I was like, we got to be a filmmaker. I got to do that. That's still the dream. That's the ultimate thing in my heart. But music is I love music, bro, like in such a way, it informs so much of what I do when I'm creating and like art. So even when in my stories, like I absolutely have some needle drops and I'm like, bro, it needs to be this song. Like I'm telling you, it needs to, and like all kinds of genres, but to be told like in college, you can't do that. that no one will take you serious. No one will ever consider your script. It's not, that's just the rules. Who makes up these rules? And then come to find out, James Gunn is one of those dudes that everything is intentional about what he puts for his music. So if I was doing that stuff, like I said, like more than a decade ago, and that's before, that stuff, I'm just like, so here I am as a college kid being told like there's these rules, but yet I still don't understand them. And then it's even that where it's like, if somebody wants to be Michael Bay, power to you. Be the next Michael Bay if that's what you're trying to do. Like who am I or anybody else to tell you no?
That reminds me of like Scorsese a couple years back was going after Marvel and the Avenger films.
Yeah,
Do you remember that? And Robert Downey's like, because Scorsese's like, yeah, it's not cinema, blah blah blah, and Downey's like, well, it's played in theaters, so I don't know. I mean, I think it is. Like, it's just like, yeah, why you gotta hate? Like, it's not your style, but yeah, I don't get it. And Scorsese's amazing, so.
Oh yeah, exactly. But if we're hitting those things where everybody's like, oh, how many times we keep hearing it's like, oh, the super genre dead. It's dead. It's dead. No, it's not. You just need the next right story and like show someone. And I think that's even like that's like a film like Sinners. I think Sinners, that coming out this year.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. I still haven't seen it.
Oh man, Doug, yeah, you'll love it.
I know, I hear everybody talking about
enjoy it. Yeah, it is. Talk about just a complete film. So that's one that.
Is it out yet? Is it on HBO or something, or who made that one?
It was Warner Brothers. So yeah, if anything, it should be coming out on HBO Max probably soon. Man, dude, that was one that that's just a special movie.
Last thing I was gonna touch on, just the LA wildfires. I mean, are things back to normal? What did that look like?
Dude, that is something that it looks straight out. That was like
looking at hell in real life. Yeah.
Oh man, like it's something that was like out of a movie where it's like everything looked like a war zone. Like if you drive along the coast, like seeing the areas affected, Pasadena and like Altadena are ones that since I've been out here, I've come to like really, I did a lot of jobs and when I was in freelance and location work out in those areas, and I fell in love with the communities out there and to see what's happened. It is, like you said, it's like literally looking, it's like hell on earth. Never seen anything, never witnessing anything quite like that. And I really hope I never do again, but it also is just like, it's a government stuff, like just the failure, from the systems. There's so much stuff. Just still to me, like it doesn't make sense. But I will say, man, like that's one thing about LA. There is no city like this, dude. Like it's people, and it's not just one thing of, sure, there's a good portion that are like myself, where like we're transplants, but again, where it's like I have traveled, I can say the world, for like the life that I was fortunate to live, and it's like I have traveled all over. And I have found a place that I sit there and be like, yeah, this is home. Like everything about energy and again, just the people, man. So not like the transplants, but the real Californian, the real natives. They're some of the most beautiful people, bro, that like, they're so welcoming. They'll take it. It is like that thing, dude. Like they'll take anybody in kind of, like you get to be invited or come over to like barbecues type stuff. And that's what it is. So when that stuff happened, and I think the one thing I had an issue was like, it was really weird to see like online, just kind of the nastiness, I guess, like, yeah, like the online world where people are just like, oh, well, like everybody, they have money, like it's not a big deal, or like they deserve it. They deserve who? You're reading comment sections on stuff, and I'm like, that's the nasty side where I'm like, this is a real life crisis. And I don't understand that, sometimes today's society, like it always just feels, I'm like, why when people are down, why is it a thing that some people feel like you got to kick and keep people down? When it's like, this is a time we need to rally and we need support, we need to lift each other. But I'll say like out here, that's what it was, man. Like it definitely went from being just like the most scariest thing. And you were so, it was just uncertainty where it was just like, are we next? Like, am I about to lose everything? Like I had stuff packed, like we were all ready for that. And there were certain ones that were kind of encroaching, but I was, fortunate that I ended up being safe and it all worked out. But for what we saw happen was it just exactly, man, it was a beat of like, just defeat. And that's how we started the year. It was dude, January was I don't know how it was for everyone else in the world, but it was the longest month. January felt like 6 months out here. Like it was crazy how time everything came to a standstill.
I was just going to say, I looked it up. I couldn't even remember when it happened because it was like my time perception was so weird. It was like, was this last year? And I was like, this was just a few months ago. I was so confused. I was like, I feel like this was like a long time ago, like a year ago.
Real, man. I just came back, yeah, from like the holidays, and that was the thing. It's like just got back to work, and then literally it was like the fires happened, and everyone was just trying to live their life. It was just like, hey, that's happening. It's not safe. Like there's things real life is happening, and it was wild how it was still like you got to go to work. Like we got bills to pay. You know, like that's the thing where I'm like, what is this that what I don't know, like this I'm like this don't make sense, like we got real things going on. So fortunately, like things did get to a point, even our work they supported, and it was just like, look, everybody handle your stuff, because clearly it's like nothing was happening, like everybody, dude, that was another thing that halted, even kind of delayed the start of our year here. Productions, everything was shut down, and you know it was a bit, the fires did affect that, and so, and then that was the thing too, some people were afraid to commit to do anything work because they didn't know how long stuff was going to go. So for how that all played out, but I'll say, man, the way that you saw people rally in the spirit here, that was something that was like beautiful to see. That, like I said, I was like, bro, I'm telling you, like I think there's just some cities like something like LA where I'm like, it's the people, man. They're a different breed. Like they really are. But that was definitely, like I said, from what went to such a defeating, scary time, to see it turned into something beautiful, and to see
Mm-hmm.
people together, and we're still, and that's the thing, we're still rebuilding.
Well, let's finish on a good note here. We're gonna do your Mount Rushmore. We can either do your Mount Rushmore movies or actors, so you can choose.
Oh, okay.
And so you got to pick four, your top four of all time.
Okay.
Movies or actors? What do you want?
Let's do films. We'll do films.
All right.
Does the order matter, or can I just do like top four?
I don't think the order doesn't matter, just top four.
Top four. Yeah, let's do that, because I'm like, I don't know, we're gonna try to rank stuff.
There's too many genres where they compete, and you can't
Yeah.
really rank it.
Um, let's go. First, I'll go with there's a film by Jean-Luc Godard called Breathless. Um, I'll pick that movie because that was one in Wisconsin. That's the film that opened me up to like more so international films. That film opened me up, that again, what we grew up, pop culture, like the American culture here, that showed me film from a French filmmaker, and this guy broke rules. So that you're talking my language, where I was like, this guy changed the style of how you could edit. He was a very smash mouth, like in your face, kind of raw style of filmmaking that had never been seen at that time. But you're also coming off, you got to understand the context of like social like kind of constructs and context of where France was at the time. Man, you know what? We'll go Avengers Endgame, because for real, like we were saying, bro, that was, I think, the buildup of Marvel. I mean, and that's the thing, Feige, for better or worse, Feige changed Hollywood. He changed the system, man. He introduced shared universe ideas, and so many have still tried to do it, and they failed. But I think that's one that, of course, you look at that first 10 years, the run that Marvel was on, man, nothing compares to exactly like you're in that theater and what you witnessed, and the snap, and coming off of Infinity War. Exactly. Endgame was that type of film. There's like, that I think will be for us, like us, you know, like people talking about Star Wars, or you talk about those big genre blockbusters.
My dad always brings up Rocky, and he remembers when everybody got up and started clapping and Rocky, and they're like, "What the?" It's like
yeah,
that. It's like something you're not. Yeah, that's
one
crazy.
too. Yeah, that's a good one though too. The Rocky
Mm-hmm.
movies, man,
Mm-hmm.
especially Rocky 1 and 2. But yeah, it's like I feel like Endgame was that. That's ours. That it's like, dang, I think for whatever we'll see, it doesn't matter, because everyone's just trying to emulate the business model that Feige and them perfected. But it really is that, where it's like, yeah, to be there, you know, like that's, look at it where I'm like, man, like, yeah, dude, imagine like people like, you didn't get to witness. I mean, I felt like that when we didn't get to be around like our parents witnessing Star Wars or some of these other ones. But I think that would be our claim, where it's like, at least we got to see Endgame, and that run of Marvel, man, that's something that it'll stick with us. I'll go, let's go Her from 2013, Spike Jones. So Spike was one of my dudes, and I would love.
That movie also hits more now than ever.
Yes. Yes. That
When I
one's,
watched it, I was like, "Holy cow, we're here, man!"
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
Dude, that film when it came out, that's what I almost like, the almost like emotional scar that I got from that was exactly, I was like, that's where we're headed. This was as much as maybe like the personal stuff for Spike, and you know, there's a conversation being there about, you know, like a personal relationship he had, and you know, he found a way to tell the story in this project, but yet he was addressing maybe some like real life stuff, which is beautiful. It's like, again, art can be like the best therapy like that. But what that film on its own and what it kind of represents, the life of it, I think exactly from when it came out, I was like, this will be a marker reference point in our history, because this is more of a cautionary tale of exactly like there's a very it felt very like the not too distant future, like X-Men vibes. It was just like, yeah, like this is a world I believe, like I know it's like in the future, but yet still feels familiar enough that we can again like see ourselves in these characters, and you can just completely understand and being like, oh my God, like imagine like we will get to that point with AI. And yet exactly fast forward 2025, like we're here, man. So that's it. That's always one that exactly like I'll always put that at the top of my list. I was like, dude, Spike Jonze was way ahead of the curve of understanding. Like, I just think that was like a cautionary tale, but like anything, it's like, we didn't listen. We're going all in on AI stuff. But, so yeah, that one, yeah, beautiful film. Love that one. And then lastly, Nolan stuff, I think my favorite, it's like, I'll give him like The Dark Knight and Inception. I think that 1-2 combo for me like does it. That I just love for, because again, even with like The Dark Knight, Nolan helped push us to like like even where we're at, where it's like we can take superhero movies like serious. Like Dark Knight is just heat with Joker and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Superhero lens, the aspects, but at its core, it's like it's what Michael Mann's Heat. From like '95. It's like it's that film. It's crime noir. It's a corrupt city. That's another film you could probably say, we watch that now, and it's like, that's probably more realistic. Like the corruption aspect, of like false prophets and false social constructs and governments and the systems failing the people. Those questions and themes that are in that movie still resonate to this day. And so, but again, I think it's just that beautiful thing of like culture and society and then art. It is always that back and forth pendulum swing of just reflecting each other,
Mm-hmm.
and the beautiful job of an artist. We see the world, we see society, we internalize it, we then get to birth this idea, and somehow we're just trying to create conversations for people. But I'll say those ones for Nolan. Yeah, I'll say like and then Inception's the one, I mean, that's the one that made me fall in love with Leo DiCaprio. Like, you guys know the story. Like, I grew up and I was not a Leo fan. I don't know why. Nothing he did was like, I was just like, this guy? Like, I always like, my sister or friends or all people, all we ever saw was Leo DiCaprio. And I was like, this guy? It took me a long time, but when Nolan worked with him, then that's when I was like, well, if Nolan like, is onto something. And then I saw Inception. I loved it. Definitely made me appreciate Leo in a different way that I think now, yeah, he's one of those guys too. He's definitely in his kind of top tier of his own as an actor and performer. But we'll go with those ones. So, and then just
we're going like half Dark Knight, half Inception.
Just like yeah.
Okay.
And then just to throw out there, yeah, a little caveat or like honorable mention, Sinners, man, for something that's like current that
really that quick. You're putting it close to like.
I would. Yeah, I would. Like it. I think it's a film that we'll look back on, and it's something I think will be very important, very special. But also excites me for like Ryan Coogler. Like I mean, anytime a Coogler project's out, I'm someone that will buy like everything or anything, trying to support his stuff.
Well, I'll watch it this weekend then. I got to catch up on it. But Joe, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it. It's good seeing you. It's been a while since I've seen you. I am still not in person, but seeing your face actually. So,
yeah.
But seriously, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.